Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, the Platinum arc, where previously Diamond and Pearl did their best in order to stop Charon of Team Galactic, now a defector doing his own thing, from acquiring the power of Giratina, the Antimatter Pokemon. But while Regigigas went back into play, trying to take on Giratina, unfortunately because Charon had acquired Heatran, Regigigas had its hands full, and despite Diamond and Pearl's best efforts, Diamond was struck down by Giratina's Shadow Force attack, and his body disappeared afterward, leaving Pearl at a bit of a loss for what to do. But he knew one thing: he'd get revenge. Alongside Regigigas, Rotom, and Pearl's Pokemon, they went on the warpath, pushing back both Charon and Giratina, causing it to retreat back into the Distortion world, with Charon giving chase. Pearl, Dr. Footsteps, and the Pokemon Association chairman do their best to make it to the Distortion world through the one place that most people seem to have come to know is a way into the Distortion world, Send-Off Spring. The first to make their way through, aside from Paka and Uji, were Flint and Volkner, looking to take on Giratina and settle this whole situation. But unfortunately, as Platinum finds them when entering with her team, they don't fare too well. Platinum enters with the group of the stat trainers as well as Palmer, finds Paka and Uji for the first time in forever. Riley is separated from the group, while Mira, Cheryl, and Marley, go up against Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, who had followed Charon in order to find Cyrus. But the stat traders are looking to get revenge for Buck. The advanced level Grunt is also present, having fled from Team Galactic because of his role as Surge's puppet, who was able to get his self-control back, and helps out Platinum into the Distortion world in order to be protected from Team Galactic. Meanwhile, Diamond has awoken in seemingly the Distortion world. Much has happened, and thanks to Marley happening upon Shaman, many a legendary Pokemon is entering into the Distortion world. What'll happen as we near the end of this story? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, adventure number 100! The Final Dimensional Duel Part 7. Let's jump in. Alright, we pick up in the battle of the Team Galactic admins against the stat trainers. Marley is taking on Jupiter, Arcanine versus Tangrowth. Mars is taking on Cheryl, Yanmega against Blessy, while Mira takes on Saturn, Alakazam versus Toxicroak, which I think Alakazam is cool. Get in here. Glad the stat trainers are doing what they can. Mira has Alakazam use Power Trick in order to guard against Toxicroak's ability. Saturn says, "You switched its attack stat with its defense stat. So what?" Mira then has Alakazam use Guard Swap. I feel like she's got something she's planning. Saturn then says, "Now you've added your special defense stat to your defense? That's a waste of your Psychic-type Pokemon." Yes, Toxicroak used Poison Jab. But Alakazam doesn't fall, as Mira thinks to herself, "Say what you will. I'll raise my guard so high your attacks will be pointless, and I'll take my time teaching you a lesson." Yeah, and she's that kind of war of attrition kind of people. It just wears down your attack and your PP to the point where it's just like, what do I do? I've got nothing left that can actually hurt you. Meanwhile, with the battle with Mars, she commands Yanmega to use Bug Buzz against Blessy. With Blessy injured, Cheryl says for Blessy to eat her berry, but Mars has Yanmega use Bug Bite, taking the berry. Mars saying, "Too bad, it's mine now." Cheryl says, "Really? What a pity," and has Blessy use Sing, which immediately downs Yanmega. Mars says, "Ooh, not bad, let's switch," as she brings out Bronzong. Bronzor, not Bronzong, Bronzor, and has it use Heal Block. Oof, man, Cheryl is not getting anything in edgewise. As Mars says, "Now your Blessy can't use any of the heal moves it specializes in." Ooh, dang. Meanwhile, Platinum, Pocket, Uji, and Palmer watch as Marley goes up against Jupiter, which not an easy opponent to take on. Come on, Marley, let's see if you're actually worth being, having taken on that shaman. Jupiter has Tangrowth use Natural Gift, which unleashes an electric attack against Arcanine, which, hey, I don't think that's gonna do as much. I mean, the fire type, I don't think it's hurt badly against electric type moves. Yeah, it's just damaged normally by it. Okay. Platinum says that's. And Marley says an electric type move. Jupiter says Natural Gift yet again. Ah, but it's water, which Arcanine's fire. That's not great. Man, freaking Natural Gift every time. Oh yeah, and I see Jupiter slowly handing Tangrowth a berry. Marley says a water type move, but it's the same move. Platinum says, Marley, use this, and tosses her versus recorder to Marley. Marley sees this. Well, Marley looks into the versus recorder and seems to realize something. As Jupiter hands Tangrowth another berry, tells it to use Natural Gift, Marley tells Arcanine to jump, managing to avoid what seems to be Earthquake. You shake it like an earthquake, drop that ain't no way. Jupiter says, huh? Oh, it depends on the berry. I didn't know that's how Natural Gift works. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I thought it was just at random. Because as Jupiter hands Tangrowth another berry, telling it to use Natural Gift, Marley thinks, Nagas berry, and has Arcanine jump back. Jupiter thinks, she read my moves. Palmer questions, what did you give her, Platinum? Platinum says, I fought Jupiter before, and she defeated me with Natural Gift then. I wasn't able to figure out the secret behind that move at the time, so I did as much research as I could on it afterwards and recorded the results on my versus recorder. I learned, for example, that if you give your Pokemon Rossberry to hold, Natural Gift becomes a grass type move. If it holds a Lumberry, it becomes a flying type move, and so on. In other words, the type of move changes depending on what kind of berry the Pokemon is holding, which I'm surprised you can switch out a held item during battle. Maybe that's something you could always do, but I don't remember you being able to do that. Oh, is that Arceus? Palmer thinks the type changes depending on what it's holding as well. Come to think of it, and he thinks of Arceus. But then Palmer seems to see something at the last minute, but it's too late as he suddenly struck. Is that Darkrai? And Palmer is sent flying into the void, Platinum calling out to him. Oh man, but the advanced level grunt, he seems to recognize what got Palmer. It says that's, oh, it's finally here. I don't care if you can barely make it out what it is. I know that boy. I know that boy. Get in here, Darkrai. My favorite of the Sinnoh legendaries. Heck yeah, brother. Meanwhile, with Diamond, who's lost in the distortion world, he says, ah, I get it. This must be the distortion world. Oh, wait, who? A voice calls out, how can you tell? Diamond says, it feels like it did when I touched it before. The voice says, touched it? Diamond says, 3 times. The first time was when Kaka and Uji were sucked into it at Veilstone City. The light that surrounded them felt like this. It wasn't hot or cold. The second time was at Spear Pillar. I tried to jump into the hole in the air with Moo. And the third time was just a moment ago, when I was attacked by Giratina's Shadow Force. The voice says, I see. 3 times, eh? Your body must have adapted to the Shadow World. Lemon says, right. That's probably why I ended up here. As he turns to Cyrus. Oh my god. Diamond's unflappable nature is unsettling sometimes. He just turns to Cyrus like, hey, what's up? Meanwhile, Pearl, the chairman, and Dr. Footstep have arrived at, what's this place called again? Turnback Cave. Pearl saying, there it is. A spring, flower patch, fog, cave. It's just like Lady said. The gate to the distortion world is at the end of this cave. Hold on, lady. While Footstep says, ooh, another rare footstep. While the chairman pulls on Dr. Footstep's overall, saying, come on, we have to go, Dr. Footstep. Meanwhile, Diamond says, I want to ask you something, Cyrus. I fought Giratina. It was really strong and it was really angry. There must be something we can do to calm its rage and lower its power. And you know what that something is, don't you? Oh, dang. Diamond ain't messing around. Alright, this time we get Pearl's Pokemon. Actually, now I think about it, yeah, the readout of the distortion world where you see the stat trainers against the Team Galactic executives. Charon's out with Heatran. Platinum was with Palmer, and Pocket and Uji with Cresselia. The Shaman is with Marley. Heatran is with Charon. Cresselia is with Palmer. Giratina had taken out Flint and Volkner. The other Vault Frontier Brains are not in this story anymore, while Pearl is with Regigigas and Rotom. Just missing Darkrai and the Lake Guardians at this point. And Pearl being 12 years old, which, already kind of knew that. Everybody's around the same age. It was pretty cool. Infernape level 65, good stuff. Chatot. Chatot has not really grown too much in ability, but Pearl doesn't really use Chatot that much for battling, and Luxray being at 60 makes enough sense. Though being out in the wilderness, that Luxray got powerful very fast. Alright, next, Adventure 101, the Final Dimensional Duel Part 8. Getting down to the wire. Cyrus alongside Diamond observe the encased Dialga and Palkia. Cyrus says, see those two Pokemon up there? Diamond says, Dialga and Palkia, they're stuck. Cyrus is right. They've been imprisoned here by Giratina, the absolute ruler of this world. If anyone can stop Giratina, it would be these two. We have to find a way to free them. That's our first priority. Diamond says, but is that really what you want to do? You tried to create a new universe, and you failed. Don't you want to try again? Maybe it would be better for you to keep them like this. Again, Diamond asking the real questions, even if it wouldn't be in his best interest. Cyrus says, since I got trapped in here, I've had a lot of time to think. I was born in the bright, warm sunshine of Sunny Shore City, but as a child I preferred to stay indoors, in the dark, and fiddle with machines. Machines have predictable mechanisms. They follow rules like the laws of physics. I found beauty in that. I wanted to create a new universe by merging time and space, a grand mechanism, combining two Pokemon to create a universe that would be the ultimate form. But things didn't turn out as I expected. All I did was create a hole, a portal connected to a world of chaos with no up or down, no right or left, not even the notion of linear time. The machine at Veilstone City. Creating that was pure coincidence, a side effect of my experiment to create a new universe. We called the result the Antimatter world, generation machine, and locked it away so it could not be used. It's funny. I can't imagine why now, but back then, I could not accept anything that didn't fit the rational world I desired to create. That too was a weakness, a weak heart, an incomplete heart. My logic was suppressing my heart, but you showed me how to complete my heart. Knowledge, emotion, willpower, each supporting each other. So that an incomplete heart could become whole. I feel like it's a bit more than that, but it's still a nice lesson. If only I had someone special in my life when I was young, maybe things would have gone differently for me. I made mistakes. Diamond says, I can't really follow everything you're saying, but you got it all wrong, and he smacks Cyrus on the head. Diamond says, all you need is a serious straight man to whack you upside the head when you need to straighten it out. Cyrus is at a loss as he says, well, I have no qualms about making amends. I pledge to help you in any way possible. Diamond says, hooray! And he brings out his licky licky, while Cyrus brings out his Honchkrow. I gotta admit, I was not expecting Cyrus to actually help out. Cyrus has Honchkrow use Night Slash, while Diamond says, me first! And he also has his Pokemon use Night Slash. Cyrus, as this is going on, as Licky Licky and Honchkrow try to get out Dialga and Palkia. Cyrus says, Dia? Diamond says, huh? Cyrus asks, I have a question for you. What exactly is a straight man? Diamond says, a straight man is... But Dialga and Palkia have been freed. Meanwhile, Pearl is perplexed next to the chairman and Dr. Footstep. He says, this world is totally topsy-turvy. The bottom is at the top, horizontal is vertical. This place makes me really uncomfortable. And another weird thing, why did my father fall out of the sky? What is going on here? Pearl says, hey, I told you to call me Daddy. Pearl says, oops, you have a lot of nerve asking me to call you that. Do you have any idea how long you've been away from home? Homer says, don't remind me. But the things I've taught you have been useful on your journey, haven't they? Pearl says, how would you know? I'll admit that Lady won her battle at the Orberg City Gym thanks to my passing on the special training you gave me, Daddy. Palmer says, "Oh, you remember that training? It sure brings back memories. I mastered that technique during my day's training with Wake." Pearl says, "Wake as in Crasher Wake of the Pastorius City Gym? You know my master?" Palmer says, "Wake is your master too?" Ah, like father, like son. He grabs Pearl's shoulder saying, "Well done, my son. Following in your dad's footsteps? How's my old trainer doing?" Pearl says, "Well, he got injured in the battle against Team Galactic. He's on bed rest now. The other gym leaders are too. And that's not all." Palmer says, "Channel that anger into your fighting now." Yep, and there's Darkrai up in the sky. Palmer points to it saying, "There's a Pokemon that I have to face up there. We'll be a father-son tag team. Let's go." As Pearl brings out Diglett and Palmer brings out Milotic. Pearl says, "Why is that Pokemon after you anyway?" Palmer says, "Probably because one of my Pokemon has a big grudge against it. It's the Pokemon who brought the nightmares to Full Moon Island." Pearl says, "Full Moon Island? What are you talking about?" Palmer says, "Concentrate on the battle, Pearl. You predict what move it's going to use." Pearl analyzes it and says, "Dark Pulse. But as Milotic is hit, it seems to heal itself." Pearl saying, "Wow, it cured itself." Palmer says, "That's Aqua Ring." Ah. Darkrai moves in again. Palmer saying, Pearl says it's going to use Hypnosis. Palmer says, "Change Cresselia." So he switches out Milotic for Cresselia. And as Darkrai uses Hypnosis, Cresselia seems to fall asleep. Pearl says, "It's asleep?" Palmer says, "No worries. Psycho Shift." And the status seems to be inflicted upon Darkrai now, as it falls asleep. Palmer turns to Pearl saying, "This move transfers my status ailment to my target." Pearl says, "Wow, I didn't have to do anything in that battle." "Daddy, with your skills, why don't you quit wandering and settle down in a job already?" Palmer says, "How rude. Look at this. You know what this is?" Pearl says, "That mark. The Battle Frontier?" Palmer says, "The Tower Tycoon of the Battle Tower is your very own daddy." Daddy. Daddy! Pearl says, "Wow, that's impressive." Palmer says, "By the way, where's Dia? Wasn't he with you?" Pearl says, "Dia's..." The chairman says, "Allow me. He lost Dia in the battle against Giratina." Palmer says, "What?" The chairman says, "It's an unspeakable tragedy. A trainer that young falling in battle." A voice calls out, "Welcome, young trainers. That's your standard greeting, isn't it, Chairman?" I think that kind of stuff. That's kind of stiff and formal. How about something more cheerful and fun? The chairman says, "Oh, what do you suggest?" Diamond says, "Well, how about, hiya, future champions? How's that sound?" As Diamond rides by on the back of Dialga. I mean, that's one way for him to make an entrance. I'd be shocked too. Pearl says, "Dia? You're alive? What are you doing here? And why are you riding Dialga?" Diamond says, "Don't really know, actually. I came rushing over as soon as I heard your voice, Pearl. By the way, look who's with me." As he points over to Cyrus being raised up on the head of Palkia as Pearl freaks out. Okay, so Pearl's not even gonna mention friggin' Cyrus. A voice calls out, "Pearl, is that you?" Pearl says, "Lady." Diamond says, "Lady, I'm here too. Hold on, we'll be there in a minute." As Diamond and Pearl are lifted up by Dialga, they're shocked as they make their way to Platinum. Diamond says, "Oh." Pearl says, "What?" Palkia says, "What's up?" And Uji says, "How you two doing?" And they run over to give Pac and Uji a hug. Aww. Pearl says, "You're both alright, not hurt?" Diamond, hugging Uji, says, "You're here. You're actually here." Aww. That's actually kind of sweet. Pac says, "Thank you so much, Diamond and Pearl. It's because you two took our place." With Uji saying that we were saved. You're a great team. Pearl is welling up with tears saying, "Aw, shucks. Hey, dear. Get them out of there." Diamond says, "Okay." Oh, they have their sunglasses. Ah, nice. Diamond hands over their glasses, saying, "There you go." And they both flip on the shades like badasses. Enter, oh, well, he was already there, but the elite grunt says, "Three trainers who fought me together again." And now, oh, and he brings out the Lake Guardians? Had they just been hanging out with him? Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf. Interesting. Okay, so Weasel 53, Tauros 58, and Diglett 48. Yeah, I mean, you think it would have evolved into a Doug trio by this point, or Weasel into a Floatzel. It's funny, Pearl doesn't have a super strong team, but it's a fairly capable team. It's just that Diamond's Pokemon are so out there. He got passed by so easily. Dang, that is something. All right, next is adventure number 102, the final dimensional duel. Part 9. Diamond says, "You're..." The Pearl says, "Oh, Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit." The advanced grunt laughs as the Lake Guardians go for Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, handing over their Pokedexes. Oh, okay. I thought he would have tried to hand that over to Surd. Again, where is Surd? Darkrai showed up, but what happened to Surd? The advanced grunt says, "I had my own individual consciousness once, but I was forced into Team Galactic's hive mind. I said I escaped from Team Galactic because I was having an identity crisis, but that wasn't the only reason. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but stealing the Pokedexes from you, that wasn't what I intended. I couldn't return to my group, and I couldn't overcome my guilt for acting as Sir's double. And then these three came to me, and for once it seemed like someone finally understood me. I guess they knew they had been freed in exchange for the Pokedexes. Even Pokemon understand gratitude and reciprocity. Oh, that's a new one for me. They were willing to put themselves in danger to repay me. And that's when I decided to defect from Team Galactic." Oh, he's stabbed from behind, much to the shock of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. And as he staggers, he says, "And now I'm free." And he falls to the ground. Oh, attacked by Darkrai. What the heck is going on? Pearl says, "That's the Pokemon Daddy was fighting just a moment ago." The grunt says, "Its name is Darkrai. He always said Darkrai was too much for her to handle. He must have released it in this world because it got out of her control." So what? Was that when she petrified Red and the others? I don't understand. The grunt says, "Carrying a legendary Pokemon on you is a huge responsibility. I used to carry it around with me. But even though I never took it out of its Pokeball, wherever I went, everyone, even me, started having terrible nightmares triggered by Darkrai." A voice calls out, "You fools! Not to be taken lightly. Too much to handle. That's because you're nothing but a weak-minded grunt who was easily controlled to begin with." Pearl says, Sharon says, "I won't give up either." "Oh, I won't give up. I'll never give up. Darkrai is under my control too now. Put all the legendary Pokemon under my control." That would explain why Darkrai is just attacking people willy-nilly. Charon then sends out Heatran as it leaps towards Diamond and Pearl. Out of Pearl's pocket comes Regigigas. And if you go after the last time that it took on Heatran, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Regigigas slams into Heatran, knocking it back. Meanwhile, over with Giratina, who looms over Flint and Volkner, it seems to take notice of Dialga, Palkia, and Regigigas, and grows angry, racing off towards them. Flint says, "Why you?" While Volkner says, "This battle isn't over yet." Giratina rushes past Saturn and the stat trainers, damaging Saturn's pod as he says, What? Past Mars and Cheryl, past Arcanine and Jupiter, with Shaman ending up on Giratina's head. Charon says, What? My. If it isn't Giratina, and who have we here? Shaman as well." As it races towards... Oh, jeez, it's a free-for-all. As Giratina just grapples with Dialga and Palkia and Regigigas, while Darkrai, Mesprit, Uxie, Azelf, and Shaman are just kind of caught up in the mix as well as Heatran. Jays. Just crashing into each other. Oh God, Sharon's just salivating at this, saying, I'm overcome. This is a dream come true. If I succeed, they'll all be mine. But Platinum calls out, "I'll never let you catch them." Charon says, out of my way. And he tells his Slowking to use Psychic. But before the attack can hit, all of Platinum's Pokemon jump in the way, blocking the hit. Although they seem kind of a little worse for the wear. Platinum says, "Lady's Pokemon." Diamond says, "They've all healed, but something is wrong." Platinum says, "Yeah, they're out of breath and sweating too. Are they sick?" No, I guess that's Pearl saying that. Platinum says, "That's what I thought at first too. The three I entrusted to the hospital were like this, and by the time I challenged the battle hall, the others were in this condition too. They were marked with something I'd never seen before in my Pokédex. And that's not all. They've grown stronger. What the heck? Oh, is it the Pokyrus thing? I've heard about this. Really? Okay. Huh. Back over at the hospital. Oh, it's Miss Berlitz, Platinum's mom. Daisy says a virus, you say? Miss Berlitz says yes. The Pokemon, well, I should call her by her first name, Yanis. Yanis says, yes, the Pokemon Center was taking care of them, but something went wrong, so we moved them over here. It seems contagious. I assume all of Platinum's Pokemon have been infected by now. Baby says, they're not ill though, are they? Daisy says, no. As a matter of fact, this virus has a positive effect on them. Yanis says, my interpretation of the data is that this virus actually revitalizes the Pokemon, helps them grow more powerful. This is a Daisy, and Yanis says, say Pokyrus, isn't it? Huh, how weird. Yep, Platinum, also 12 years old. Huh, I didn't think that would come into play here. I've heard about it plenty of times, but I don't think I've ever really seen it in action in anything, or even, I don't even know. I don't think any of my Pokemon were ever infected with it. How do you even get that? Huh. Alright, kiddos, we're winding down. It's adventure number 103. The final dimensional duel part 10! Charon commands his Slowking. Oh, well, he says, grow stronger, my foot! Beat him up, Slowking! Oh, he's using beat up? Platinum has Pachirisu use Captivate and our special attack, and it smacks. It goes from nuzzling Slowking with its tail to just smacking it with it. Then Platinum has Cherim use Solar Beam against Slowking, downing it. Cherim says, hey, you're supposed to beat them up, not get beaten up. As I suspected, an ordinary Pokemon isn't powerful enough. My Heatran is about to be defeated by Regigigas too. That leaves me no choice. As we see, Regigigas just stepping on Heatran like he's a bug. Like, man, Heatran don't really deserve all this, but dang. We have Palmer and the stat trainers making their way over to Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, and the others. Palmer comes over to his son saying, are you okay? And Pearl says, Daddy! I just keep thinking of Steve from American Dad. Diamond says, Riley! Riley says, long time no see. Platinum calls out, Cheryl, Mira, Marley, are you alright? Marley seems a little worse for wear being carried by her Alakazam. He falls to her knees saying, this is so frustrating. I would have won if Giratina hadn't gotten in my way. Cheryl says, how annoying. Platinum questions, what do we do now? How will this battle end? At this rate, all the Pokemon will get hurt and fatigued, and this world will be torn apart. The battle will end with more rage, bitterness, and sorrow. Palmer says, selfish people brought about this conflict, jeopardizing the everyday lives of Pokemon. Diamond then says, but Giratina didn't get along with Dialga and Palkia to begin with. That isn't people's fault, right? That's actually a good point. Pearl looks to the entry about Darkrai, the pitch black Pokemon. To protect itself, it afflicts those around it with nightmares. However, it means no harm. Huh. And yeah, that's one thing about Darkrai that's always been a thing. Darkrai doesn't attack pointlessly. As Pearl looks at the entry, it says, and Darkrai didn't mean to cause harm when it drew Full Moon Island into its nightmares. I can understand why Cresselia would be upset, but Falcon then says, sometimes things go terribly awry for the smallest of reasons. Platinum then says, both people and Pokemon make mistakes, but if we can pause and think for a moment, we might be able to fix things, or at least keep them from getting worse. Even if we can't restore everything to exactly the way it was. Diamond says, that's right. Pearl says, yeah. And Cyrus seems to ponder this moment with the three of them, as something jumps into his hands. Oh, it's Shaman. Huh. Marley looks and says, and thinks to herself, Shaman's flower has bloomed. As Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum look to Shaman, Pearl's Pokedex reads, Shaman, the gratitude Pokemon. The flowers all over its body burst into bloom if it is lovingly hugged and senses gratitude. Huh. We finally get the information from the letter to Marley from Professor M. It reads, Marley, I've read your letter with much pain in my heart. The explosion of the galactic bomb, the distortion in time and space throughout Sinnoh, the various Pokemon who have fallen victim to this chaos, Pokemon whose habitats have been jeopardized by all this, and you are concerned about the increase in Pokemon bearing a grudge against people. I understand how hard all this must be for someone like you who loves Pokemon so much. You live for that love. You long to contribute to a world without such conflict, a world in which people and Pokemon may live together in peace. But you've given up. You've concluded that a world like that is simply impossible to achieve. I'm truly ashamed to be one of the adults who contributed to our world today. Oh man, I know this was written like 15 years ago, but man, that sentiment, I feel that sentiment right here, man. Shoot. I look to the kids nowadays and I just say, I wish we could have done right by you guys. Oak's letter says, but please, dear Marley, please don't give up hope. Allow me to introduce you to the Pokemon Shaman. Oh, and don't forget to visit the Floroma Meadow before meeting Shaman. Pick the beautiful Gracidia flower there. There's always an opportunity for gratitude in any situation, and a feeling of gratitude leads to hope. Aww. It does show that Marley and Cyrus kind of had both a somewhat similar mindset, having kind of given up on the world, but they just needed something to kind of fill them with that sense of hope in others and stuff like that. But as Marley's distracted, Riley says, look out, and grabs her and gets her out of the way of a falling Regigigas, sorry. I don't know, mean to slander your name, Regigigas. Diamond comes over to Regigigas, calling out to it, but Platinum says, it's asleep. Oh, how? So is Cresselia, Dialga, Palkia, the three legendary Pokemon of the lakes, and even Heatran, and Chiron in his pod next to Darkrai behind Giratina, which I can't tell if he's commanding Giratina somehow or what. Does Giratina just like his vibe? Is that what's going on? And Chiron says, wonderful, wonderful. Now I can capture them with ease. But first, I intend to crush every last one of you. Is he using the device to command them? He pushes a button on his device, and Giratina goes in for the attack. Reeling back, Pearl says, Dragon Pulse! The Shaman, it's ready. It leaps from Cyrus's arms. Oh, what? And it does something to awaken Regigigas, the Lake Guardians, Dialga, Palkia, Cresselia, and Heatran, and all of them just push back Giratina, causing Dragon Pulse to misfire. Oh, into Charon's friggin' hovercraft. He cries out, saying, Shaman, I used to use Worry Seed to charge their abilities to insomnia, to change their abilities to insomnia. Yeah. I'm forced to retreat and concoct a new plan. I've already recorded the data for Giratina. It might overload the machine, but he presses another button, and Giratina catches Charon on his head. It pushes away the other Pokemon, taking off, but Shaman's nose twitches. Marley shows off the flower that she had, and Shaman smells it as the scent wafts to Shaman, and it assumes it's, what is it called again? Sky form, right? So I'm ready to yuck stuff up form. As Shaman goes leaping into action, Diamond says, it changed form. Pearl says, let's go after it. Pearl says, Daddy, I need to borrow your Cresselia. As Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum race to Cresselia, but suddenly Pearl is picked up by Palkia, and Diamond is lifted up by Dialga. Best friends! And with them riding both respectively and Platinum riding Cresselia, they take off after Giratina. Pearl looks around saying, shoot, where did they go? Diamond says they flew away so fast, but Platinum notices Cherrim fidgeting in its Pokeball. Platinum says, outside! Cherrim's trying to escape to the outside world. Diamond questions, how can you tell? Platinum brings out Cherrim saying, look, Cherrim changes its appearance in sunlight. It does? It's never done that before. It sends strong sunlight streaming in and changes form from overcast to sunshine. And it changes into, I guess, its sunshine form. I do not know enough about this Pokemon. We have to fly in the direction that Cherrim is sensing the sun. There, Shaman stopped them with Seed Flare. As we see Shaman going at it with Giratina, which, dang, Shaman's like, nah, we ain't done yet. I ain't hear no bell. But Shaman is knocked away by Giratina. Platinum calls out for Shaman, while Pearl says, nuts, it's getting out. We won't make it. As Giratina exits through the portal, Charon atop its head laughs. I'll trap them inside the distortion world. But then Charon sees something. Oh! Oh, God. wasn't Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so Garchomp, no sooner does Charon and Giratina exit the portal, there's Cynthia and Garchomp raining down Draco Meteor on them. And I mean, it sucks to suck because dragon type move, weakness, you're done, son. Oh man, that is actually hilarious. That is hilarious. I knew it would come back into play, but I forgot about it completely. I forgot about Cynthia completely with everything else that was going on. And it's just Draco Meteor raining down. One of them hits Charon square in the face. Oh man, Cher just keeps getting on business, and you love to see it. Oh, they're knocked back. Are they knocked into the distortion? No. They're just sent plummeting into the ground as they exit the portal. That is magnificent. Mag-friggin-nificent. I love it. Oh, this is delicious. It's delicious. Okay, wow. Platinum's Empoleon is pretty high up there. 68. Good stuff. I figured some of her Pokemon would be in the 50s and 60s, but man, Empoleon really going at it. Oh, and also her other Pokemon. Okay, Pachirisu 53. Frostlass 60. Dude, nice. Yeah, okay, Candace really trained up that Frostlass. Okay. Yeah, and it's funny. None of her other Pokemon are that far into the 60s, and yet Empoleon is almost level 70. Like, gosh darn. Alright, this is it. Adventure number 104. The final dimensional duel part 11. As Cynthia stands over the down Giratina and Charon atop Garchomp with, oh, hey, it's a grandma. Carolina. I will still continue to call you Carolina until the day I die, old lady. Carolina says, perfect. Giratina never saw that coming. It wasn't able to dodge that attack, and it showed up just as I expected. Charon is literally washed up right next to Giratina on the beach. And he says, how can you tell where Giratina escaped to? Cynthia, looking down, sun shining on her back, says, Giratina was trapped in a world with no sunlight. So naturally it's been longing for a place where the sun shines all the time. Oh, they're at Sunny Shore. Everything goes back to Sunny Shore. And this place is Sunny Shore City. Yep. Charon tries to stand up, saying, no, not yet. It can't be. It can't be over yet. I guess he throws out a smoke bomb in the face of Cynthia and Carolina and tries to make his escape, laughing, only to be confronted by Dialga and Palkia. Pearl saying, running away again. Diamond says, it's not funny to repeat the same slapstick routine over and over again, you know? And with Platinum arriving on Chrysalia with the injured shaman on his back too, Platinum says, you're not going anywhere. Charon says, you think you've won, do you? Giratina is still under my control. I've gathered all the data I need on Dialga, Palkia, and Chrysalia. I control all the legendary Pokemon. He fiddles with his device, saying first, and the portal they came through starts to shrink. Pearl says, the hole. Diamond says, it's closing. Charon says, I'll trap Cyrus, your friends, and those stupid executives inside the distortion world. And all the legendary Pokemon, too. If I can't have them all to myself, then I don't care if they disappear from the face of this world. Pearl says, Chatler, get that machine away from him. So it's just that device. He just knows frequencies. That's wild. Just with the flick of a switch, he can control legendaries. That's insane. And with another flick of the switch, he says, this is a frequency for Chatot. And Chatot starts attacking Pearl. Diamond sends in Munchlax, while Platinum sends in Rapidash. But Charon says, it doesn't matter how many of them there are. As he commands all three to start attacking each other, he laughs, only for something to hit his device, sending it plummeting into the ground. Their three Pokemon manage to wake up. The portal starts closing. Everyone's shocked. Charon says, huh? What the action figure Diamond got fell from the sky? What? Charon says, what is that? Pearl says, it's a Pro Team Omega action figure? Diamond says, huh? Charon picks up a rock saying, is this some kind of joke? Toys don't magically wake up and fight as your allies? Is this Rotom? Because it just suddenly shocks Charon. Yep, it's Rotom. Oh, nice. Good stuff. And much to Diamond's shock, as Charon falls, Rotom pops out of the action figure. Diamond says, you entered the robot? Enter Professor Rowan and Mr. Berlitz. Rowan saying, that's no surprise. Platinum says, Professor Rowan? Father? Rowan says, there once was a Pokemon who liked to possess toys. I came across an old document with those words once. Maybe that was referring to Rotom. Pokemon that possess toys. That actually sounds familiar. Yeah, I had to look it up real fast. Isn't that Bayonet? Pokemon that possessed a toy? Diamond says, I knew it. You're into robot anime too. But a voice calls out, hey, as all the legendaries exit with everyone else. Reggie Gigas helping out Paka and Uji, Cheryl, Mira, and Marley riding up top Heatran, Azelf, Uxie, and Me-Spirit exiting as Palmer, Riley, and the advanced Grunt make their way out. So, are we just never finding out what happened to Surd? Also, where's Darkrai? Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum come rushing over saying, hey everybody! But then, there's the Team Galactic admins, or executives, Saturn saying, he's useless. Mars says, he lost to a toy, only for Cyrus to call out, you're in no position to say that. Oh, Cyrus makes his way out on, what was the Pokemon's, Nose Pass? Or Probopass? Probopass's little drones. Saturn says, Cyrus, you're all right. And as Cyrus approaches Charon, he says, Cyrus, I'm so sorry. I worked so hard for you and for Team Galactic to gather all the legendary Pokemon, but in the end I have failed you, he says, bowing. And as Cyrus reaches for Charon, Mars and Saturn think he's gonna pinch him. But Cyrus picks up the device that Charon had, and he says, I see. You calculated the number of frequencies that various Pokemon don't like, and then you use those frequencies to force those Pokemon to obey you. You managed to command all these Pokemon with that one little gimmick. I'm impressed. Impressive. I seem to remember a record of this technique being used at Spear Pillar. Wait. So that moment when everything went awry, that was his fault? And it says, so the reason we failed to create a new universe even though we had the red chain was because you were controlling Dialga and Palkia in hopes of getting them to open a gateway to the distortion world. And all because you wanted to get a hold of Giratina. Wow. The idea of that. Charon says, of course not. Cyrus, I swore total allegiance to Team Galactic. My loyalty was just too strong, that's all. I know, you can pinch me here, where it hurts the most, he points to his arm. Next time I shall triumph. Cyrus looks to Charon with unclouded eyes. He says, Charon, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, I hereby announce the disbanding of Team Galactic. You are free to do as you like. Naturally, Mars and Saturn are in shock, while Jupiter just, I don't know. It's hard to really gauge what she's thinking in a moment. Cyrus then bores the little Probopass drone and says, Magnet Rise. But in a very interesting moment, Jupiter has an outburst, saying, you've got to be kidding. As our new boss, it's your responsibility to take care of us. How am I supposed to live without Team Galactic? I'm going with you. And you too. You don't seriously think you can lead the life of an ordinary citizen now, do you? Both Saturn and Mars look at each other, not really knowing what to really say to that. But Cyrus just closes his eyes. Magnezone then pops up underneath them, I guess to bring them along. And as the three of them just seem to be okay with this, Cyrus looks towards Platinum, Diamond, and Pearl, and he says, Dear Platinum, Pearl, you dedicated your hearts and souls to a grand cause. You three are respectable warriors with big hearts. Thank you. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know. Shit. I was so ready to just see Cyrus just flung into the distortion world, but I don't know. This moment kind of makes me a little sad. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Dang. Charon says, wait. Are you sure about this? Do you really intend to let the biggest crook of all escape? But a voice calls out, of course not. I won't let any of them escape. I'll hunt them all down and arrest them, and they will pay for their crime. The figure puts cuffs on Charon. As Looker says, and Charon, I'll start with you. As he comes in with his Krogunk. Yep, forgot all about you, Looker. Platinum calls out to Looker and says, are you alright? Looker says, actually, you can see him fit as a fiddle. Buck, too. He's back and noisy as ever. As we see Buck coming in to greet Cheryl, Mira, and Marley. Platinum gives a sigh of relief, saying, that's wonderful. And so this is. But she pauses as Giratina rises out of the water and glares down at them. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum turn, Pearl saying, what a tough Pokemon. But something comes firing out of the portal from the distortion world, hitting Giratina. Oh my god, it's Flint and Volkner getting in that one last attack. I mean, let's face it. I feel like Cynthia's Draco Meteor probably did the most damage. It's just taking someone who was already kind of on its last leg. But Flint says, didn't we tell you that the battle, Volkner says, wasn't over yet? And Giratina falls again. Flint and Volkner high five. Flint saying, yeah, we rock. And Volkner says, don't put it into words. It's embarrassing. You know what? Whatever helps you two sleep at night. With Giratina down, Dialga and Palkia loom over it like, oh, about that little situation where you kind of, grabbed us up when we were weak and vulnerable. Oh, man. I love this. For Pokemon who I cannot tell the expression of too much, it's just like... Dialga and Palkia got a face like, so do you want to keep going or are you done? You done? Giratina's like, yeah, I'm done. He just retreats back into the distortion world like, nah, I'm good. I've had enough. Dialga and Palkia look to each other, and with, I guess, what poses as wings for them, they take off. Diamond says Giratina went back to the distortion world. And Pearl says, and I guess Dialga and Palkia are going back to Spear Pillar. Whatever that means. Because I'm pretty sure they just materialized there. I don't know where they were before that. Diamond says, what about those three? Gesturing to Azelf, Elixir, and Mesprit. Pearl says, they'll return to their lakes, I imagine. Diamond says, Reg has chosen to become Dia's Pokemon. Oh, I don't know who's saying this. Reg has chosen to become Dia's Pokemon, and Ronan wants to come with us too. Yeah, friggin' Diamond gets both Rotom and Regigigas. Diamond had Rotom before it was cool. Farmer says, Cresselia's sticking with me. Lucky. And Buck says, we'll take Heatran back to its mountain. Yeah, Heatran's just like, look, man, it's been a trying few days. I'm ready to go back to sleep. Oh, Marley leads down and says, will you stay with me, Shaman? Oh, Marley keeps the Shaman? Dude, that's friggin' sick. Man, we're divvying up the legendaries. Like, okay, who wants this legendary? Who wants this legendary? And if Buck was just like, you know what? I think I actually want to keep the Heatran. They're like, yeah, sure, why not? Everybody else has got a legendary. Where's the Darkrai, though? Yeah, thank you, Riley. Where's Darkrai, he says. And the advanced grunt says, over there. It spreads nightmares wherever it goes, whether it wants to or not. I hope it manages to find peace somewhere. Dang, okay, so I guess they're never really gonna find out about the deal with Darkrai. Man, I'm gonna choose to believe that this is the Darkrai, and it ends up in that second Pokemon Rangers manga where it was protecting that tower and stuff like that, and it's just kind of chill now. Got to go and do its own thing. Meanwhile, Rowan says to Berlitz, Giratina, Rotom, and Shaman. I had no idea there were so many Pokemon who could change forms. Oh, and just wait till you get to Mega Evolution or Gigantamaxing. The form changes go crazy. Or Terrestrialization. Berlitz says, we had better start researching form changes in addition to Pokemon evolution from now on. Yeah, there's quite a few Pokemon that change forms or the split evolutions and stuff like that. Ah, the wonderful world of Pokemon. Rowan says, we're going to have our hands full. The voice says, don't worry, Platinum and I will help, as it is Berlitz. Rowan says, Oh, hello, Yanez. Cynthia says, I guess this is what you call a happy ending. Only for Carolina to say, hey, Cynthia, yada yada, bubbly wobbly, blah blah. What? What did she say? Cynthia says, I know, Grandma, I know. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum come running over, Diamond calling out to Cynthia, and Pearl saying, you're going already? Cynthia says, I promise to treat Grandma to as many rounds of Moo Moo milk as she likes at Cafe Cabin in return for helping me train. Carolina says, well done, you three. Keep training hard. Suddenly, Looker's cell phone goes off. Da da da, la la la. Looker says, huh? I have a call on my International Police Equipment number 12. International Smart Satellite Phone. I swear to God, Looker. He answered it saying, Looker speaking. Oh, they're silhouetted. Oh, snap! It's the... It's the setup for the next story arc. The good stuff. Do we know who's on the other line? I guess not. The person says, good morning, Looker. I have an assignment for you. Looker says, you do? But what about my pursuit of the Team Galactic bosses and executives who've just gone on the lab? The person says, I'll have someone take over that job for you. Right now, I need you to look into the executive members of another organization lurking in another region. They're called the Seven Sages. You are to depart for the Unova region immediately. Unfortunately, we're not going to the Unova just yet. Cynthia says, the Unova region? Oh, does she show up in Unova too? I see Black and White. Black and White is such a, blank spot for me. Because at least with, Diamond and Pearl, there's a little bit I know here and there. Okay, so she does, apparently, at least briefly. And apparently she shows up in Heart Gold and Soul Silver? We'll see if she actually shows up in the manga, though. But Cynthia says the Unova region. But Carolina says, hey, Cynthia, hurry up. Get a move on. I ain't getting any younger. Looker straps on his jetpack saying, well then, Platinum, look forward to hearing about your future successes as a trainer and researcher. Well, Platinum calls out to Looker. Looker says, no need to worry about me. I'll see you when you see me. What a thing to say. Soon, I hope. And he takes off, leaving her in the dust. Mother, son of a... I kept wondering about the Manphy egg. Oh my... But we're not going to see them. We're not going to see them after this. Diamond says, actually, the saying is, I'll see you when I see you. Pearl says, shh, don't ruin the moment. But Looker just comes on back. Pearl saying, that was fast? Or I guess it's Platinum. I'm not sure. Looker says, speaking of another region, I almost forgot. He hands over the Manphy egg saying, this is for you three. Diamond says, an egg? Why are you giving us this? Looker says, I don't really know. I was on a mission in Fiore before coming here, and a Pokemon Ranger there was protecting this egg. A girl entrusted me with it. She asked me to hand it to a trainer in Sinnoh. My God. Actually getting to see Lunix, Solana, and Yori. So once again, I'm glad I read that Pokemon Ranger special manga thingy. Diamond says, so we're supposed to hatch this? Looker says, I suppose so, yes. Well then, it really is goodbye this time, and he takes off. Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum are left a little bewildered, and then they look around. Diamond says, Pearl says, all over now, right? Dr. Footsteps says, no doubt about it. I read Garatina's footprint, and I no longer sense a grudge or any desire to dominate or destroy, nor any feelings of rage. The chairman says, we have no way to prove it definitively, but Garatina seems to be appeased for the time being, at least. The hole has disappeared too. Diamond says, then Platinum says, it really is. And Pearl says, over. And they all bump fists. Victory! Palmer says, wait a minute, Platinum. It's not over for you yet. The Battle Frontier. There's still one facility you haven't challenged. Yeah. And you better not cop out on this. No, not like with Emerald and Tucker. You better show me this battle. Wait, no. They probably aren't going to show me the battle. For some reason, they always cop out on that last battle. Platinum says, oh, that's right. I haven't fought at your battle tower, Palmer. Palmer says, exactly. I'll be waiting for you. Pearl says, wow, lady versus dad. Palmer smacks him in the back of the head saying, I told you to call me daddy. Why daddy? But Platinum laughs and says, may I ask you two a favor before I challenge the battle tower? Diamond says, what? Platinum says, It's been a while since I've seen you do a comedy routine. Would you perform one for me, please? Diamond and Pearl look to each other. Aw, that's so sweet. So we see all of the gym leaders out of the hospital now going to greet Byron. Joanna, performing with her glam yow. Rowan snacking and being chewed out by his assistant, while their Berlitzes are just enjoying some tea and looking setting out for parts unknown. The narration reads, "Your names are to be recorded for posterity here. What you're leaving behind is a memory of your adventures thus far. The time has come for you to record the names of you and your Pokémon now. Remember, your Pokémon are your partners, who grew with you through many challenging battles. Let us honor this moment as we take a permanent record of that partnership in the Sinnoh region." And so, atop the stage, out comes Diamond and Pearl to an audience of one, Platinum. Pearl says, "Hello, everybody. We're Pearl," and Diamond says, "Diamond." I don't know why I'm getting emotional about this. I don't know why I'm getting emotional. I have no way to explain it, but seeing these words hit me. Pearl says, "Speaking of Pokemon." Diamond says, "Speaking of Pokemon." The end. Oh man. I didn't expect to be such a little baby about that. My God. Oh snap, there's still more. I thought it was done. I thought it was done. We see Manphy being played with by Diamond, who says, "What an interesting Pokemon. It's like your body's made of water." Pearl says, "Hey, Dia, this Pokemon is entrusted to us so we can train it, so do it properly." Pearl says, "Okie dokie." And Diamond has Manphy use Heart Swap. I wonder what that means. I guess we're in Solaceon Town, where Platinum is watching, chuckling. Oh no, so Manphy, as Platinum watches, and a couple come up saying, My, that was a surprise. We've been running this daycare for a long time now, but I've never experienced anything like this." And we see the daycare couple who trained Gold holding, what is this Pokemon? Feony, yeah, right. 2 Pokemon born from one egg. The man says, "This Manphy was born from the egg you brought us." After a while, the woman says, "We found another egg lying next to Manphy, and from that egg, out popped this Pokemon." Platinum says, "They look similar, but they're different Pokemon, right?" Diamond and Pearl come running over with Manphy, saying, "Hey, lady." The daycare woman says, "It's called a Feony. Curiously, it doesn't evolve into a Manphy." Yeah, I've never really understood that. Pearl says, "There wasn't much written about them in Charon's note." Diamond says, "But I've seen a drawing of Manphy before at Mr. Backlot's mansion." Oh, really? Yo! All Pokemon eggs remain a complete mystery to us. Plum says, "Yes, it would be fun to research Pokemon eggs." The daycare lady says, "You certainly are a scholar's daughter." Daycare man says, "You might be more interested to know that on one occasion, a trainer's personality influenced the Pokemon who hatched from an egg." Platinum says, "Really?" The daycare man says, "Yes, it was a young man who used to work for us. His egg hatching skills were unprecedented. His name was..." Get ready for the next story arc. Oh man, well dang. And I gotta tell you, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. These finales just very rarely not hit the mark. Honestly, the only thing I'm just kind of like, what the heck, was Surd. We made this whole big thing about Surd for the longest time. She was involved with Team Rocket. She was involved with Archie. She was involved with Team Galactic. And the whole situation with the Team Galactic Grunt, only for the Grunt to get a little bit of closure, but nothing for Surd. And, I kind of want to look and see if there's something more, but I don't want to get spoiled by the wiki. So it's just kind of like, okay, what happened? Where did she go? Where did she end up? Is she just like around the corner somewhere, like about to be involved again? Or even worst case scenario, if that's it. Because I don't know if they're going to do an adaptation of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but I don't know if that game added anything to the point where it would even matter if that happened. Okay, I couldn't contain myself, so I kind of looked it up. No, it seems like her involvement just kind of stops at the Platinum Art. She let go of Darkrai, and that was it. That's weak. That's weak, man. That is a whole lot of build-up not to be involved towards the end. Like it darn near feels like, why even bring her back if she wasn't gonna... And shoot, then again, given the state that Lorelei left her in, I mean, that could have some really, actually really terrifying implications, depending on how you want to look at it. Like, the worst case scenario that could have befell Red and Sabrina, or maybe Surge just trying her best to recover from what she experienced. I gotta say, Surge feels like the kind of person who would just cut off her leg and be done with it. Man, that's a really hard one to kind of swallow at the end of the day. But all the other plot lines done great. Like, I wasn't sure how you were gonna start really introducing all these legendaries, but they did it, and so many characters just walked away with these legendaries still in their possession. Like Diamond friggin' just has Regigigas. I don't know how to really think about that. Although, I guess he'll mostly just have Rotom to use as an actual Pokemon, because Regigigas, I think he'll just probably do like it did before and not really come out unless there is a precedent for it. Like, unless there is a world-ending situation, nothing. And as far as I can tell, this is the last we see of our trio, which is kind of a bummer. I loved seeing the other trios and other stories and stuff like that, but there's no real reason for them to really reappear to any degree. Though I did like it when certain characters would team up, because I think the game character Lucas, yeah, he at least appears in Pokemon Black and White. Oh no, he just talked about now as a non-player character. So now there's no real precedent for them reappearing in any other game adaptations. Dang, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate to hear. I'm gonna miss these chuckleheads. And, man, it sucks that more wasn't done with the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl adaptation, because I don't know if they'll adapt that into a manga. I mean, what would you even really adapt? And Cyrus didn't end up trapped in the distortion world, which really takes me off guard, because that's where I usually know his character to just end up. And knowing that's not how this story ends just kind of leaves me going, oh, so they're just out there? Man, they got a happier ending than most other adaptions. Like, shoot, I don't really know how to respond to that. But I don't know, it was a fun conclusion. Interesting, bombastic, out there, fun, thrilling, and just overall cool. Thing was going a mile a minute, and I loved it from start to finish. But I guess all that's really left to say is, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How did you feel about the conclusion of the Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum story? Do you feel like more could have been done? Are there Pokemon you wish you had gotten to see? Characters you wish you had gotten involved? I'm interested to hear from you. So like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I hope to see you. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.